Hey y'all, thanks for dropping in. Let's see, on today's ramble, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite hobbies, which is board games. We'll definitely see how it's going to go because, as I've mentioned before, as I'm learning this process of recording and making content, I've recorded several times and something would go wrong. Either the file was too big, I didn't notice that the receiver on my phone for the mic I'm wearing was needed to be charged. So nothing actually got recorded, or only half of it recorded. And I've practiced this a little bit. I think even though I can be long-winded and talk a lot at work or in situations that I know what's going on, I'm a little bit more awkward when I'm just kind of flying off the cuff. So there's this balance where I want these rambles to be very authentic, just very me, and not super polished. And just a little bit stream of consciousness, kind of whatever comes to mind, because the purpose is that the content will just give you something to listen to kind of help ease, distract you a little bit, or ease whatever weight might be on your mind if you have a lot of thoughts and stuff. So the content is really varied, and although again I know certain things will improve over time as I learn and as I get some experience, just fundamentally this is kind of what I want the channel to be. It is the kind of things I had wanted. When I was just going through some insomnia or stress, or just when the world was weird, and the world is still weird. So this is just something to listen to. But so I know I've recorded some content about board games. I just nothing that I can post, I think. So I'm gonna kind of start from scratch. And I think I want to approach it this way. So I got into the modern board game hobby about 17, 18 years ago. I'll say maybe 25, 30 years ago. There was a game, or there still is a game, Settlers of Catan, that kind of is recognized as a game which kind of reinvigorated or kind of reset the modern board game hobby, at least here in the States. I know things like D&D, and there's been some games that have been around a lot longer. Not that I was aware of that growing up. I think we kind of had the traditional games, Life, Monopoly. We had Mousetrap. Sure, we had some dominoes somewhere. We played a lot of card games, rummy, spades. We would play cribbage or battle. And Yahtzee, I think, was another big one that we would play a lot. And yeah, we liked games. And through our late teens, or mid to late teens, like middle school, high school, I think, we'd still play cards here and there, maybe a board game here and there. But yeah, it wasn't anything out of the norm, I think. Checkers, chess, although I didn't really play chess so much. We liked word games like Scrabble. And so I don't even exactly know how I found it, but 17, 18 years ago, I was playing. I know there was a fun card game called Killer Bennies, where everybody's collecting cards, including rabbits, and then we're attacking each other's rabbits with various weapons like kitchen whisks, or dueling grandmas, or chocolate covered antimatter raisins, just really silly things. And each weapon had a level, so you had to roll, right? So, like a kitchen whisk, level 1 weapon, really easy, so you just had to roll higher than a 1 to beat it and help your bunny survive. Now, it is very much a luck-based game. You just kind of improve your probabilities of winning by collecting bunnies, buying carrots from the market, playing different games. Game I actually still really like. If it's set up, I definitely play it. I think at some point though, I even had some expansions for it. I think up to like 7 different expansions, even though there were more. And it was just there was a lot about it that was clever that I felt like was my type of humor. And so we would have board game nights where it's called Midnight Breakfast and Bunnies. At least a couple times a month, we'd set up a full breakfast bar, genuinely like at 11:30 midnight, and we just eat and play. And then the first board game I remember playing was Catan, and there was so much about it that I really loved. How balanced it was. It felt like, unlike Monopoly and all the traumatic nights I played with my sister, where she insisted on winning and I couldn't give up. But in a lot of games, it gets to a point where somebody is so far and ahead away that there's no way to win. You're just competing for second place. Or then you just play the part of trying to ruin their chances if you want to play mean, which I don't really play a lot, only if it's funny, if the other person thinks it's funny. Or we play, we have our little side quests or something. But anyway, I just remember, and again, I know there are games now where somebody can definitely get far and away ahead, but it was the first game I remember that felt really balanced. And even though there was some luck, because anytime you're in dice rolling or dice chucking, card drafting, almost any game, there's some sense of luck. What if you're going to get the card you need, the roll you need, things like that. And after that, I don't know if maybe Seven Wonders was another early board game. Ticket to Ride. Pandemic. Some of these things that just, I just fell back into the hobby again. And where I was living in the Pacific Northwest, there was just a lot of people interested in board games. I mean, it's kind of gloomy most of the year. Not that I like the gloomy weather, but just always a good excuse to be indoors playing something. At some point during the hobby, there comes a time where you want to build up your collection, or sometimes just you have that cult to the new where something new and great is out and you pick it up without even really being certain that you'd like it or if it would get to the table a lot. There's games these days that just are gorgeous to look at already, and then on top of that, they might have deluxe components or deluxe versions. They definitely know how to make money at it. It is not a cheap hobby, but there's ways to do it inexpensively, which is either you have a friend with a lot of games or just poor decision making skills and some extra money. Public libraries will sometimes have board games to let out. If you look in your area and see if there's any local board game stores, which might have a variety of miniature games, Dungeons and Dragons, or those role playing adventure games, or maybe they're exclusively board games. I don't think I've seen a board game store that doesn't have some of those, like other hobbies, the miniatures that you might want to paint and those campaign dungeon crawler type games. But anyway, the point is if you call them, they might either have a group that meets up there or they have a library of open games that you can play. There might be a local game convention or fair in your area. There's some, I'm sure, in every region that might be worth going to check out. But yeah, at some point I had a lot of games, more games than I was getting to the table, and then we had a big move. We had to decide if we were taking any with us. I can't even remember the games that we let go. And then, life happened with cancer and moving and jobs and just changes, big changes. And I reduced my collection down even more. And then I want to say within the last year, I've just been tired of having so much stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, I like stuff. I'm not a minimalist. I am trying to take care of how, like, the pieces of furniture I'm getting that, have all these games, but they pretty much fit into these two cabinets, the TV console and then another side console, but you can't see them because it just is something for peace of mind. But yeah, and then my goal was to kind of like whatever can fit in here is what I'll keep. And the things that I do buy, I want it to be things that I really will enjoy and not just to have stuff to have. I think the idea someday of somebody going through it, like at an estate sale, is a little depressing. And I have found that I was able to get a lot of the games that I like pre-owned, or there's a couple online sellers, or through marketplaces, or through Mercari or the Geek Market on BoardGameGeek.com. Um, and then there's also plenty of games out there that are under $20 that you could find, these small games that provide just as much fun. Again, if I have a deck of playing cards and decent company, I can have a good time. So over the series of this ramble, I'm just going to spend some of the rambles just talking about these games, talking about different mechanisms I like, why I like them, maybe even just reading through rule books. This channel there are plenty of channels, especially on YouTube, dedicated to board games, and even there's a few podcasts, I'm sure, that give great information if you want to know about board games. This is just me, a chatty internet stranger, talking to give your mind somewhere else to rest. And so a lot of the information I have, I may not say very well. If you do know board games, I'm sure you'll find some slips and some places where I misspeak. Yeah, but again, I just want to talk about them, and maybe it holds your interest long enough, or just that the sound of my voice just speaking works like the kind of white noise or brown noise that just kind of settles your brain a little bit. So rather than diving into all the games, and at some point I'll have a playlist just about the board games if you're interested. Let's see. I think I'll just talk through the games that I have right now, which I just did a big cull, which is spelled C-U-L-L. It's a big cull where I went through the games that, as much as I love them or like them, they just were not getting to the table. And even with my local board gaming group, I knew they weren't going to get much play. And so, as much as I enjoy them, the idea of them just kind of sitting on the shelves unplayed just started to bug me a little bit. So, I think I had pulled out about 26 games, and quite a number of those, gosh, maybe a little more than half of those went to an online seller called Noble Knight Games, who I bought a lot of their games, as well as from Gamers Guild AZ. If you're looking for secondhand and at a lower cost, but they're always in good condition, they do a good job about sourcing their product and making sure it's not in too rough of a condition. But so I just thought I would tell you the games that I have. I'm trying to have a list going of games that I want to check out a little bit more to kind of round out my collection and work in different, have at least 2 or 3 options per mechanism type. And what I mean by that is, if you've ever played Yahtzee, that is a dice chucking game. It's also a set collection game because you're trying to get multiples of the same number or straights. Same thing with Rummy. That's a set collection. It's also a card game, hand management. So every game has multiple types of mechanisms. Monopoly is auction, um, purchases, and there's rent and collecting rent and things like that. So every game has a variety of mechanisms, and when you get into the hobby, you start to know what you will enjoy. So, if you really liked Monopoly growing up, you might like this. If you really liked Scrabble growing up, you might like this. If you really just liked Mousetrap growing up, then you might like this. There's a lot of things like that. And again, I'll talk more about mechanisms later, but one of my two of my favorite mechanisms, sorry, is called worker placement and deck builders. And I'll talk more about that later, but you're just going to hear me use a few keywords as I just give you a verbal tour of my current collection. We do have some party games and some family weight games. And so, yeah, let's see. In this cabinet, I have a game called Far Away. It's a card game where you plan a trip and then you earn points on your way back from the trip. In the modern hobby, all the board games should have 3 icons on the outside of the box. One that talks about how many players can play it, how long the average play time for each game is, assuming people have learned it and know it, and then also the recommended age group. That's how you find like the family weight games, and that would be right for kiddos or classrooms, or just in your family too, like how you might like to gather around the table and play some of these. So Far and Away plays 2 to 6 players. The average playtime is 25 minutes and is recommended for 10 and up. This particular edition was published by Pandasaurus Games. And then I have Lost Cities. It's a card game that is a 2-player only. This version I have is by Cosmos, Kosmos. Oh, I think I wanted to tell you too, Far Away. Gosh, I'm not going to get all these designers' names right. Johannes Guppy, Corentin Lebrat, Maxime Morin. Lost Cities is a Reiner Knizia game. I will talk about them. There's some really prolific designers out there who have designed a lot of games. Reiner Knizia is one of them. But Lost Cities is just a really popular card game. It plays only 2 players. It's recommended for ages 10 and up, and playtime's about 30 minutes. Let's see. Okay. Another game that I have that I've yet to get out to play is called Happy Little Dinosaurs. The tagline is Smile, It's Almost Over. It is by Unstable Games. It plays 2 to 4 players. 30 to 60 minutes is your average game time. If it's 30 and under, it's called a filler game, or 20 minutes. It's like an appetizer filler game that you could play in a short amount of time. You could either play it a bunch or just play it in between while waiting for other games to finish up if you're having a game night, or just as a palate cleanser. You've played a good game for like an hour, 2 hours, and you just want something small, short to reset, and then before you go into your next game. And then I have a game called Quix, QWIXX. This is the deluxe version. It plays 2 to 8 players, so this is good if you have a larger number of people. It plays about 20 minutes and is ages 8 and up. It is a roll and write game. So you're going to roll some dice, decide which dice you want to that you want to claim or score, and then you have a little dry erase board that you make marks on to keep track of it. It's actually a really fun game. I think my family would like it. I need to get them to play it soon with me. Okay. So the next shelf, this particular side of my cabinet is like kids games and family weight games and the smalls that I have. We have Tapple. It's not really a board game, but it's a fun party game. It's a blue circle with a bunch of with the letters of the alphabet except for Q, X, Z, and maybe one more, maybe Y. have Micro Macro Crime City. That's a fun, it's actually quite a unique game. It's a big poster, black and white illustrations, and you're trying to solve mysteries as it's drawn out. It's fun. I have a game called Las Vegas from Ravensburger. Oops, excuse me. Hope it's not too loud when I'm moving things around. But this also, this is by Ravensburger, the people that make puzzles. This is, where is it? 2 to 5 players, ages 8 and up, and takes maybe 30 minutes. It's not a difficult game, but it's a lot of fun. You roll dice and you're trying to bid on a certain number so that you can win some money and collect the most money. There is Century, and Century has a few different versions. There's the Spice Road version, there's one more, and then there's this one that I have, which is the Golem edition. This is by Plan B Games. This is a deck builder, which is one of my favorite mechanisms. Honestly, beautiful game and good components, but it's for 2 to 5 players. It plays in 30 to 45 minutes, and it's for 8 and up. And my nieces have really liked this. There is King Domino, it's a polyominoes game. It's actually, there's a award that comes out every year from Germany called the Spiel. There's Kinderspiel for kids' games, and this is Spiels des Jahres, and this was a Spiels des Jahres winner in 2017. But it is a blue-orange game designed by Bruno Cathala. He's also designed a lot of games like Rainer Knizia. Doesn't mean you'll like all the games these designers make, but you see their names around, so they're solid. And this one is a 2 to 4 player game. It plays in 15 minutes, which is a really nice appetizer game. And it's for 8 and up. Then we have Hues and Cues, which maybe you've heard of. It's kind of one of the games that you'll see at a retail store, Walmart, Target, things like that, Barnes and Nobles. But it is 3 to 10 players, so another good party game. It plays in 30 minutes. It's for 8 and up. Obviously, not a great game if you have players who are colorblind or color deficient. But otherwise, it's a really fun game. Easy to learn, easy to play. And then there's a game called Wavelength that also kind of party style family weight game. That's good. I have For Sale, which is kind of one of these classics that's been around for ages. It's property, prosperity, buying, selling, which again might remind you in some ways of Monopoly, but really this is quite different, but it's very good. It plays 3 to 6 players, 8 and up, and it plays in 20 or 30 minutes. So another good filler game. I just picked up a couple, maybe last month, a game called Decrypto. It is a deduction game, party game, that there's a series of 3 words hidden, or 4 words hidden, and each one is assigned a number, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And as the encryptor, you're trying to transmit secret codes to your team without letting the opposing team intercept them. So depending on what the words are in 1, 2, 3, and 4, you'll pull a card that has a certain code, like 3, 4, 2. Then you need to get them to guess the code based on the clues that you're going to give. And then for my small box games, I won't go into super detail about these either, but I have them in a little basket. One is called Next Station Tokyo by Blue Orange Games. It plays 1 to 4 players. A lot of games in the modern hobby have solo modes or solo options. Some are solo only. But this is called Next Station Tokyo. It's a flip and write game. Plays, like I said, 1 to 4. 25-minute, ages 8 and up. They also have Next Station London, which is just a really attractive game. The colors. There's Guillotine. This is a card game. It plays 2 to 5 players. It plays in 30 minutes. Yeah, really family friendly. I have Flip 7, which is currently very popular. 3 players. Well, actually, it says 3 or more, 3 plus, but I'm not sure how many it plays up to. It plays in 20 minutes. It is for ages 8 and 8. And then my other small box games are Radlands. It's a 2-player game. Camel Up card version by Z-Man. I have Tiny Epic Galaxies. I have Point Salad, but it's the Eevee version, the Pokemon Eevee version from Korea. I have Taco Cat spelled backwards. Sea Salt and Paper, this small card game by Pandasaurus. It's beautiful. I have a solo game called Gentle Rain. I have a cooperative small game called The Grizzled. Plays 2 to 5, ages 14 and up, and 30 minutes. I have another solo game called Friday by Blue Orange Games. I have more games from them than I thought. I have one random one called The Shadow Theater by Space Cowboys. And it's also a 2-player only game. I haven't got 2-player only ages 10 and up, and it plays in 20 minutes. And then I have just good old fashioned plain deck of playing cards. I have LCR, left, center, right. It's a little small dice game. I have Love Letter. It's a really good appetizer game. I have Sushi Go. And then I have Zombie Dice. It's a pressure luck game because you're trying to, get to a certain number of points without letting the zombies get you each time. So, okay, let me put these games back. I'm actually kind of glad to be going through this. For some reason, I'm feeling a little bit anxious, and so at least talking to you guys helps. Let's see. Oops, I didn't put these back right, but it's okay. Okay, close these guys, and then scooch over here to the other side. I'll just tell you what's over here. I have Lords of Waterdeep, which is one of the worker placement games that I really like. Classic. It's on a lot of lists. A great introduction to that mechanism. I even have the expansion for it called Scoundrels of Skullport. I have a game by Daniel Newman called Watch. That's actually pretty fun. It plays 1 to 4 players in 60 minutes, and it's for 14 and up. Again, a worker placement element in it. I have a deck builder called Ascension, plus 2 expansions for it, Chronicles of the Godslayer, and something else I forgot. I don't want to pull it out and look at it, but I'll tell you about it later. I also have Race for the Galaxy, which is I used to love. I have not played it in ages. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. There was a game earlier I said was a blue-orange game, but that's not true. It was a Rio Grande. I got mixed up with the logo. Yeah, so I have Raids for the Galaxy, another deck builder in space. I do like space themed games, but I'm trying to get a balance. So sometimes when I'm considering a new game for my collection, if it's a theme that I already have a lot of, I either have to skip over it or I just replace one in my collection with it. I'm trying to, quality over quantity for me. I also have Coffee Rush, super cute game from Korea. You're making coffee recipes and the components are phenomenal. Super cute game. Plays 2 to 4 in 30 minutes, 8 and up. But it has a really good, tight resource management system in it. So even though you're doing this cutesy thing, the pressure is there. You have to kind of consider some of your steps. It's not complex, but there's enough there that I think even experienced gamers would like it as a little filler game. And of course, I have Catan. I have a newer copy because my old copy, I don't even know where the old copy is, but it got played a lot. So it's pretty raggedy. So this box even just calls it Catan. It's not even Settlers of Catan anymore, but I have the base game because even though they have some great expansions and new standalones, I just like the base game. Sometimes it's a good intro to a European style Euro board game. And yeah, just a good intro to the hobby. I have a game called Art Society where you're trying to put together the prettiest display of art on your wall. Really beautiful components again, a lot of fun. It's by Mighty Board Games. 2 to 4, 30 to 60 minutes, and 10 and up. I have a couple of cooperative games. One is Horrified. I have I think the old school monsters, Frankenstein, Dracula, things like that. Cooperative games are a good introduction to the hobby too, because it's usually you against the baddie, or one person is one thing and then it's against all the others or helping all the others. Mysterium is another game like that. But if you liked Clue, if you liked figuring out who did it with what and where, Mysterium kind of does that. You're trying to figure out, the spirit is trying to guide the clairvoyance to figure out what happened to them, who did it with what and where. Through a series of nonverbal clues and picture cards. So my family likes it. It's really good. I have an abstract game called Nova Luna. I forgot I got this calendar by Pandasaurus again. Oh, I need to see how many of my games are by each designer just out of curiosity. But they basically designed 2 options for a 2026 calendar. One has a Lovecraftian Cthulhu theme. The other is, what was the other one? Zombies. But anyway, yeah, it's just a calendar where each day you're going to roll some dice to try and tackle the task for that day and try to get by it. It's looking forward to it, and hopefully I stick with it. But yeah, that'll be coming out of my cabinet in 2026. I have a game called Mind Management. I just picked this up. It's based on a graphic novel. At least the IP is, but the gameplay itself is hide and seek. One person plays a recruiter, trying to go around and recruit more people for this psychic espionage program. And then the other players are rogue agents who have left the program and are trying to stop the recruiter from getting anybody else. So it's hidden movement. So you have a screen up while you try to track your movements, and then people, there are agents trying to find you. There's Space Base by AEG Games. This is a game that reminded me of Catan because there's an element in Catan where somebody was rolling dice and there's an opportunity for everybody at the table to get resources, or some people to get resources, not just one. Space Base kind of has that feel that of somebody's rolling, but there's an opportunity for all the other players to be invested in the outcome of that roll. I have Onitama. It's a 2-player game where it's just kind of capture the flag, except that you can see the options for movements that your opponent has, and so that kind of impacts your strategy and choices. I have Splendor, which is another great introduction, easy game, lots of replayability, super, super easy to get set up and started and introduce people to. There's only 3 things you could do each round. My version is the Pokemon version that has like 1 extra rule or 1 extra action to do. It was only released in Korea, so I have the Korean version. or I'm sorry, I have the only version which is out of Korea. So Splendor's written in Korean and there's rules in Korean, but I was able to find the English ones and print them out and have them in the box. And then there's the White Castle by DeVere Games, another game I really like. It's very crunchy, and that just means you really have to think through it. I think it's not the most complex game out there. The reason I say it's crunchy is because you only have 9 turns to try and get the most points. 9 over 3 rounds, 3 turns each round. So you have 9 turns to try and figure out how to get the most points. So that's a lot of fun. Okay, oh, and there's some poker chips under here because my sister was teaching me some poker, different types of poker games or games that you find at casinos. Crazy for poker, stuff like that. She was showing me. Oh, so on this other cabinet, which are probably my favorite games. There's 2 that I'm thinking of giving away. One is called Catacombs, which actually has an expansion. It's a dexterity game. So you're flicking pieces to try and accomplish your goals. So those are usually really fun, but you almost always need to have a bigger table for games like this. There's another one called Flick 'em Up that honestly some of the best gaming memories I've had are, playing Flick 'em Up with some friends, team against team. And then there's Nuns on the Run, where 1 or 2 people are the abbess and I forgot what the other senior nun is called, and then the other players are the postulants, who are not supposed to be out of bed at night and who are trying to go get something, and they're trying not to get caught. It's kind of fun, not the most complex, a little silly, but the theme is there, and it's it's a good game. But the other things in this cabinet that I'll have to definitely spend a content per on just to talk through them. My absolute overall favorite game right now is called Anachrony. Plays 1 to 4 players. I've never played the solo mode, but it plays 1 to 4 players, 30 minutes per player, and then 15 plus is the age. It's a worker placement game. The planet went through a devastating devastating event, the purgation that decimated most of the population. The rest of the people who survived formed 4 factions, and we've discovered time travel, so we're trying to prepare for this asteroid that's coming. But it's not just the game, but the components too. Just a lot of fun. I picked up Tiwanaku, which is another logic game. If you've played Sudoku or Minesweeper, like the old computer game, it has elements of that it would remind you of that. But again, very pretty game, very cool component to try and discover and identify which crops should grow on which lands there. Kinfire Council. It reminds me a lot of Lords of Waterdeep. It is worker placement, but it's political, which doesn't sound fun, but I'll explain it to you later. It's a stunning game, stunning production. You're basically trying to run a city as one of the counselors, one of the 6 counselors. So yeah, plays up to 6. It's a great game. There's a game called Coimbra, which is a Euro game. It's got a pretty theme. It's based on a city in Portugal. That theme doesn't actually help with gameplay the way that in Anachrony the theme really helps understand the rules and the gameplay. Same thing I think with Kinfire Council, but it's just a pretty game. It's one of those kind of point salad games. I feel like there's a lot of different places that you can get points to win. There's some commerce, there's trading, I think, but it's one that I have to get to the table and learn. There's 7 wonders, which again, after Catan, it was one of my favorite early games. I have it in the Leaders expansion. There's a card game called Ashes Rise of the Phoenix. There's another deck building game called Clank. there are lots of versions of Clank, and there's people who have all the versions. I just have the standard base version, but really good deck builder. Jump into a dungeon, try to grab the loot, and get out before time is up. There's 5 tribes. The Jinns of Nagala, but it's again pretty game. It has lots of wooden pieces. There's a Moncala element to some of the actions. I have Libertalia, the original printing, not the new one, which I don't like. But Libertalia, yeah, it's just phases of like morning, noon, and night, and you just kind of get the booty and try and be the best pirate. I think it's been a minute since I've played them. I have Maglev Metro, which is where you're building magnetic levitation subway lines through the city, and it's a pick up and deliver game. So you're trying to pick up passengers and drop them off where they belong. And then I have the each maglev comes with a double-sided map. In the original base game, it is Berlin and Manhattan, and then I got another version that has another 6 maps. Well, 3 maps double-sided, so another 6 locations that you could play. Another one that I need to learn and try and get on the table because I don't have any pick up and deliver games. Not like this anyway, especially like train based or subway line based. Then I have another worker placement called The Pillars of the Earth. It's also an older one. One of my sad faces is I used to own this game with the expansion, and the expansion is just so hard to find now. Or I'm sorry, I found it, but I think people are asking like $300, $200 for it, which is absurd. As much as I want it, it's just I'll wait. I'm sure I'll find it again. But yeah, just a straightforward worker placement that I like a lot, based on the book by Ken Follett called The Pillars of the Earth. Again, the theme that you don't have to know the IP, that book, or have read it to appreciate the game. Yeah, but it's a great worker placement. One that I picked up at a thrift store for $4, but it was still in gorgeous condition, is Tokaido. It's just you're traveling along this road in Japan, eating good food, seeing pretty sights. Yeah, there was that clear tape that Goodwill likes to put on it, but I was able to get it off without any residue or any tearing of the box, so I was very happy about that. And then the last game in here right now is called Tzolkin, Tzolkin. Again, it's got some worker placement elements to it, but another point salad where there's a few different tracks and strategies you can go for to try and earn the most points. It has a really cool mechanism where in part of the board are 3 cogwheels, and where you've placed a worker, and then when you turn one wheel, it affects how the other one turns. So just an element to pay attention to when you're playing. And then out of the games that I called to get rid of, the ones that I like, a couple of them that I really love that I have not yet sold, I'm holding off for this game festival next month, and I'm going to try to just sell it there in the Saturday market or the Saturday flea market, and try to give someone a really good price on it because I want them to find a good home. Let's see. One of them is King of Tokyo. It's just a player versus player up to a certain amount where you're just trying to each creature has life points and you're just trying to knock those back. But yeah, I have where did they go? Oh, I know where I have them. I have them in a box in my room, just ready to go. Let me see. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so the games that I'm taking to sell is Elder Signs, another cooperative that we played a lot of. It's really hard, but it's good. It's based in H.P. Lovecraft. It was from the old Final Fantasy game producers. I have the expansion in there, Unforeseen something. But that a small card game called Vi. I have the King of Tokyo Dark Edition, King's Forge, so dice drafting game to build things. There's Catan Jr. There's Kingdom. It's like a game from 2011. Dinosaur Island, which is essentially Jurassic Park in board game form. There is Dice Throne, the season 1 re-rolled. So there's like 8 characters. Love that game, but it was just never getting to the table. Then I have a couple others that maybe Alien Frontier I was able to sell. There's Space Alert and then the original Pandemic. Oh yeah, and Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition, which I kind of bought on a whim. And I don't even know why I bought it. It wasn't even a game that I loved or liked. Anyway, it was just one of those impulse buys, so that's going to get sold. I'm sure somebody will love it. It's a popular game. But yeah, that's just a tour of the games that I have now and ones that I'll be talking about in the future. And, oh, there's Small World. It's an area control game. It's really cute. The box is in terrible condition. I don't know what ended up. Something wet or sticky got on it, but the game itself is good, and I have one of the expansions, the Be Not Afraid expansion, which introduces some more races and powers. But it's a good game. Small World is another good kind of starter game in terms of area control and just replayability. I think that was a Days of Wonder production. But yeah, I love board games. It's a good hobbyist, but even as an introvert, because I can really control my environment where I might go to something like a smaller, I've been to Gen Con once. I don't know that I'll ever go again. As exciting as it is, just too many people, I'd be overwhelmed in a moment. There's another convention I went to for the first time, a small local convention. There were still over 100, 150 people, all at different tables, and it was just really manageable because I could play, then I could take a rest, step outside, no pressure, just a lot of friendly people. Just sit and watch, and you get introduced to a lot of games because people bring a bunch of games to share for open play. And then there's my local where I meet up every week. It took me a long time to find a local group. There's one that meets up in this game shop on Wednesdays. That's nice. Which, being in a game shop is also good because I could always buy something if I need it, but not good when I'm not trying to buy something. But no, it's easy to just go and sit down and play a couple games in the middle of the week. But then there's one on Saturdays that, again, a number of people bring a lot of games. And so, you just get a good variety of games to play. And when you're done, you're done. Or if you just want to sit and eat, you can do that. And so that's why, even though I know I'm introverted, I'm not even, and I'm happy being hermity, where I could just sit and talk into a mic and not really talk to people, or just interact with my family, since I work from home, or my coworkers during work hours, just on calls and stuff. But otherwise, it's just a good, measured social event that you can look up online to find meetups for board games in your area. You could play online through BGA Board Game Arena. You can find solo games. You can go to the public library, see if they have board games. Go to your local board game shop and see if they have open stock or someone to talk to. You don't need a ton of games to be a hobbyist. You don't need a ton of games to say, okay, now I'm a board gamer. No, That's not my mindset at all. I can understand maybe wanting like 5 to 10 games that, okay, if I want to build a collection, that I could pull something out when somebody's over, as opposed to other, just if sitting and talking is a little bit awkward, or you don't just want to bring them over to do binges of Doctor Who or Lord of the Rings, except why would you not? But yeah, I mean, obviously there's lots of reasons why you wouldn't have someone over, you wouldn't go over there. So having a public place to do that, meeting up with somebody in a coffee shop to play a little game, is not bad either. You don't have to have a fixed event to go. And like I said, they have these games that come in really small boxes, but it's big games. So you don't, need to have all the 60, 70, $100 games, the Kickstarter deluxe versions, the accessories like the dice trays or anything like that. You'll find what works for you. And for me, it's taken a long time to get to the point where I'm in this new chapter of just trying to have the games that I actually pull out and play, and also to want to transition into wanting to be a good teacher of these games that I love, to introduce other people to the hobby, or to just connect with fellow gamers and teach them about games that I love, because there are thousands out there. My other related pastime that is less demanding, less mental labor intensive, is just watching these great channels on YouTube. I like the Dice Tower. Excuse me. I like the Dice Tower, but I'm also discovering a lot of other game channels. Rado runs through it. Sit Down and something. Board Game Rambles. Board Game Ramblings. Oh, wait. I have YouTube up. Let me just look it up and tell you some of the ones that I've been watching lately. But they have tons of like top 10 lists that you can just like top 10 deck builders, top 10 worker placements, just our favorite games of the year, our top games that start with the letter A. They're also really just fun to listen to if you need something else besides this content. Let's see. So in my playlists, I have a board game playlist. I'm so sorry. I wonder if I should build a playlist of some of the things I'm talking about and link them, because I want the original creators to get credit. And I think as a reference, like, oh, she was talking about this channel. Where was that? And then you'd be able to find it. But I'm just barely figuring out how to do this thing. So once I do, though, I'll remember to start putting those lists together too, for other channels, as well as try to playlist these so that if you're okay with this content about board games, that you could just watch all of those. If you just want to do the ones that are a little less talky, like whenever I prepare food, as like make a big batch of kimchi, or if I'm going to cook something or bake, that you can watch those. If you just want to listen to when I read out of Don Quixote or something in Spanish, I could even do the cooking along in Spanish. But yeah, again, I'll figure this out as we go. But some of the other board gamers I've been watching is, let's see, that's the Dice Tower. That is, oops, I was learning how to paint miniatures, because with my favorite game, Anachrony, is the only game I have. It's the only game I have with miniatures. And yeah, so I finally got around to painting them, and so I was watching YouTube videos. Some of them I learned too late, like after I had already started painting and should have started, but otherwise I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. I was watching the Brothers Murph a little bit. I was watching and the Brothers Murph, Murph. Obviously every content creator just has different energy, but you could, when they really love board games, it makes a difference. Oh, This is the one I was talking about. Shut Up and Sit Down. There's this, I want to say he's British creator. This can be kind of fun. Let's see, I also watch videos on playthroughs and how to plays as I'm kind of learning the rules before I actually sit down and play it. What I find, it's almost like school, where when we were in elementary school, my mom, and this was a time where we had actual books. And so through a syllabus, we knew, oh, tomorrow we're going to be reading this chapter. The next day we're going to be reading this chapter. I can see the benefit of things being digital, but I really just miss textbooks. That's just my Gen X side talking. But one of the things that she had us do before the next day of school is spend 30 minutes previewing, like 5 minutes each subject. So previewing what we were going to learn the next day. And it wasn't a habit that I kept doing in high school, really, in college, which I wish I had. But basically, the reason for that was, even though it was brand new information, by the time you got to class, it wasn't the first time you were hearing the information. So then you got more out of the class time with the teacher. Because, if you skim through it the night before, you kind of highlight the things you might have questions about, or you get a sense of the concepts. And then during class, the teacher revisits those, and you're like, oh, yeah, I had a question about that. So much better than showing up to class, getting bombarded with an hour's worth of a PowerPoint presentation for brand new info you've never consumed before. So, same thing with wanting to learn how to play and how to effectively teach games. One of the things I do is I watch the video first, then I go through the rule book, and it's like, oh, this is what they were talking about. Then I'll play. And then after I walk through a playthrough, which actually my nieces have helped me with before, because they ask all the questions another gamer would ask. Well, what does this mean? What do I do when this happens? And they help me figure that out and learn my way around the rule book. So then I'll go back and watch another playthrough or another review of it, or a how to play of it video. And then it just makes even more like, oh, that's that thing that, just kind of helps connect the dots. But that's the kind of learner I am that helps me learn effectively. There are plenty of people who can read a rule book from cover to cover and get a decent sense of the game and be totally fine. I just need to see it demoed first or play through it myself first. But yeah, so let's see. The brothers Murph Rahdo runs through it. Rahdo is spelled Rahdo. Board gaming ramblings. Board gaming is two different words. Ramblings is the other game. There's this couple who they seem to really like heavier Euro style board games, although, like anybody, they have a wide variety. But what you find when you go through these as a hobbyist is there are people, like even in the Dice Tower, they probably have a rotating panel of 8 different people who'll do solo vids, or, the top 10 lists, or 4 of them will review the same game, right? And then you'll find like, oh, I tend to like the same games as so and so more than others. Or if someone dislikes a game, they'll bring up a point that you're like, oh, I never even would have considered that. Do I like that? Or is that something I noticed? It'll be interesting to see the quirks when they're just like, I absolutely hate it when a game does that. And then I could be like, well, that doesn't even bother me. I'm not worried about that. But then I do have my things. It's like, oh, I can't stand, like when they did a reprint of Libertalia, even though it might have a different storyline, the look of it completely changed. And it was just like big. I didn't like it at all. Same thing with, there's another popular game called Quacks of Quedlinburg, that it's a push your luck game. You're trying to gather potions into your cauldron to complete something, or if you wait too long, it can blow up. Now, the cover of that was bright and colorful, a lot going on. Couldn't exactly tell maybe what the game was about. The components are great. But the new one, Like, I would say don't even look it up, but it's called Quacks. The guy on the front is a wizard that looks like an AI marshmallow wizard. I dislike everything about it to the point where I feel a little bit offended that not only made it out of somebody's idea box, but that it made it into production. And there's other things too. And it's interesting because along with the quirks, there's things like there are times where I'm a real stickler for going by the rule book or going by calling things as they are. Do it like even with my nieces when I teach them card games, I'm like, nope, when you do this, you need to make sure you're drawing from the top or that your discard pile is clear, things like that, just basic gameplay. But then there's also plenty of things that we would do as a house rule. I remember when we were playing Pandemic quite a bit early on, we just couldn't for the life of us win. Such a hard game. And then we realized if we had the medic, we were able to find a strategy that works. So I think there was a period where we were like, we'll play Pandemic, but we absolutely have to pick the medic to be part of the team, whereas I think it's supposed to be random. But yeah, we just can win without the medic, so we would just make sure that the medic role was in there with their ability. So, but yeah, so YouTube has a lot. I think there's a couple podcasts I kind of want to listen to. Um, the website I like, Board Game Geek, which just has tons of information overload. I'm sure people have opinions about it, good, bad, and ugly, but really it does have a fantastic amount of information, community descriptions of the games. If you like this, you'll like this, that kind of thing. It introduces the geek market, uh, shares reviews, things like that. But they actually also have a YouTube channel, Board Game Geek, all one word. There's another one called Watch It Played that I've usually gone to him to kind of get a first run through a game that's new to me. And oh, interesting. Looks like there was a collaboration between the brothers Murph and Board Game Geek. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but you know what? There used to be a good channel that Will Wheaton ran about board games that I used to watch a lot early on. His was probably the channel that I watched a lot very early on into getting into the hobby. Gosh, what was the name of that? I'm sure I could find it or you guys can Google it. But anyway, yeah, that's just kind of an introduction to a hobby that I love. And I will do more videos breaking down each game or talking about different mechanisms or just reading through the book. I know this is an audio only channel, so it may not seem like that makes sense to talk about as a subject. But again, I mean, if you go back to the point of the channel as just being a place that you could just come listen to and just listen to something that's not drama, that's not, shouldn't be triggering. If I do say something that is, please let me know. Yeah, that might be slightly interesting or just at the end of the day doesn't really matter. But through the ramblings and getting a chance to reminisce and um, it kind of again even helped me earlier. I was feeling a little bit anxious during part of the talk, and I realize now that I feel a bit better. I'm just picturing something like what I was going through when I'd be like 2 or 3 in the morning, or just time where I just felt so exhausted but needed something, a little something to latch onto. And so, like usual, I hope this is that for you. And yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes. It may come to nothing, maybe just some videos that I go back and listen to someday, or you know, can share with some family and friends. But if it turns into something and you feel like there's something that I could start a ramble about, whether it's I could read through a cookbook, read the recipes, talk about some of my favorite foods, that's always a good topic. I do want to talk about my mugs. There are some things that I collect, or even collections in general, and tell you about some of my favorite things that I collect at a very modest level, at least modest to me. Um, yeah, I'll save that for another day. But yeah, otherwise, I'm really glad you dropped in. I hope you come back. Please feel free to leave any feedback. I won't delete anything unless it's just unnecessarily mean or if it's just rude to somebody else that comments. Otherwise, I really do appreciate feedback, or if there's anything on your mind, from rugby to mugs to, um, uh, fairy lights or some kind of other accessory, or weather or seasons, places, um, crafting, um, just anything on your mind that sometimes you wonder about a lot, and you just want to, or just even just to make a suggestion. Sourdough. I could make a video about sourdough baking and my trials and many errors, delicious errors, but none that really came out. Or just as a Gen Xer, if there's anything that you want just to hear somebody else talk about, please let me know. I'm happy to try and work it in. And otherwise, y'all take care of yourselves. Please be kind to yourself. Be safe um, and unapologetic of whatever boundaries you need and whatever hobbies you have. And if you don't have one, get one. They could be so inexpensive. They could be as involving with other people or as solo as you want. And it's something that's worth spending time on. That definitely gets me out of the hours that I would binge watch and doom scroll through social media, although I still do that plenty, especially when I'm not able to sleep. But yeah, just judgment free. There's lots of great hobbies out there that would just bring a little joy to your life. And if it serves no other purpose but that, then it's worth it. Yeah, y'all take care. I'll talk to you soon.